That sentence didn't sound very English, but I think it was. Hey guys, we're talking about the case of Arne Cheyenne Johnson. Arne Cheyenne Johnson, I think is how you say his name, but I'm not 100% sure, so I'm really sorry if I've said that wrong. We're talking about the case of him, and we're talking about the whole thing of the devil made me do it case. Disclaimer thing, this video does talk about murder and violence because of that, so if that is not something that you want, then please click off this video and go watch something else that's a little bit less intense. This case is very fascinating because it's a case about, and it's one of the first cases in America that is someone trying to go on trial for murder and trying to plead not guilty under rules of demonic possession. Although this is about Arne Cheyenne Johnson, we have to start off the whole story with 11-year-old David Gratzel, who played host to a demon. Now, whether or not you believe in demons yourself, if you're strongly religious or not in any way, this kid had something attached to him, according to his family and Ed and Rain Warren. The family, after experiencing this for I think a couple of years, ended up calling help from Ed and Rain Warren because apparently he'd just act strange and have very weird behaviours. And so they called Ed and Rain Warren, who noticed that this was signs of demonic possession. Ed and Rain Warren went to the family and they concluded that he was demonically possessed, and both those two and David's family fought for an exorcism to take place. At the time of the exorcism taking place, Arne apparently coerced the demon to take control of him instead of David. Everyone in the family and Ed and Lorraine believe that this is the moment that the demon possessed Arne. David didn't seem to have any sort of traits of demonic possession after this. He very much carried on as like a normal life of his childhood, as if it was before all of this took place. Debbie and Arne moved in together. They moved into a place closer to Debbie's work, and their landlord, Alan Bono, was both their landlord and also Debbie's boss. Arne worked in a different location to Debbie, cannot remember where, but he worked in a different location to Debbie at the time. It's after they moved that Debbie said that Arne was beginning to have odd behaviour. He would go into trance-like states and he'd suffer from hallucinations, and he would start growling like an animal, apparently. After he had been in this trance state, apparently he would come out of it and have no memory of what happened. I'm gonna read because it's a lot. So on February 16th, 1981, Arne ended up calling in to his workplace sick that day, and he ended up joining Debbie in the kennels, who was also joined by his sister Wanda and Debbie's 9-year-old cousin Mary. Alan ended up taking everyone out to lunch that day, and he started to begin drinking very heavily. They returned back to their place of work. I think workplace, might have been their home, but I believe they ended up returning back to their workplace, and Debbie took herself and both the girls to a pizza place to get some pizza later on in that day, but apparently she later said that she felt like something was wrong and she wanted to get back very quickly. Then they got back, Alan was very intoxicated. He ended up grabbing Mary in his intoxicated state and refused to let go of her. The other three were begging him to let her go, and Mary did eventually get away, and I think they told her to go wait in the car and told her to get out of there. And she did. She went to the car, and then Alan and Arnie started being very can't think of a better word to describe it, but very testosterone-y towards each other. Both Debbie and Wanda tried to separate the two men from each other because they were bigging each other up. And Wanda says apparently she was trying to stop Arnie from being bashful, but apparently he was growling, and he ended up pulling out a 5-inch knife just from his pocket. It was like a 5-inch pocket knife, and he ended up stabbing Alan. Arnie was then found 2 miles away from the crime. The day after the killing had occurred, Lorraine Warren contacted the police department that was in charge of looking at the murder, and contacted them and said, please don't look at this like a normal murder scene, because I believe that this was a demonic possession. Obviously this got out in the media and it became a very big hyped thing, and his lawyer Martin Minella got a lot of phone calls asking about the possession case. It got a lot of media hype. Martin travelled to England and spoke to lawyers who had similar cases in England to try and get a good idea of what to say, what not to say, and things like that. He also tried to get in a proper exorcist person who could help defend Arnie. The trial took place in Connecticut Superior Court in Dunburg, and it was beginning on October 28th, 1981. Martin attempted to submit a plea deal of not guilty by means of demonic possession, but the judge was just like, no. The judge, called Robert Callahan, rejected this defence, saying it was unscientific and lacked evidence for a reasonable trial. The defence later then said that Arnie acted on self-defence, which then also meant that the jury legally weren't allowed to look at possession being related to it at all. They just weren't allowed to look at it like that. They apparently deliberated on what to give him for 15 hours over the course of 3 days. They convicted him on the 24th of November 1981 of first-degree manslaughter and was sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison. During his time in prison, a book was written, was created by Gerald Brittle in 1983, with the help of Lorraine Warren, who ended up talking about these events. And since then there have been other books being brought out. I think there was one brought out in 2007, and there's been a couple of documentaries, I think, about it, and news articles and things like that. But Arnie only actually served 5 years of his sentence. I literally could not find much about his life now. The only thing that I could find is that he ended up marrying Debbie, and they now have 2 kids. From what I could see, this was the only case of him being violent. He has a happy life now. He's not a violent person from my knowledge, and he literally has no other criminal record, like, at all. Please tell me what you guys think about this in the comments. I think it's fascinating. It's just a very odd case. Tell me what you think about it. Do you think he was demonically possessed? Do you think he was just possessed? Do you think there was something else going on? Do you think he just wanted to kill this person? Tell me what you think in the comments. Have discussions down there. Also, like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe, because I post videos like this. I try and post them every week. Realistically, that's not going to happen, but I try. I'll see you next video. Bye. Oh my goodness, the dog just made me jump out of my skin.